Good morning, everyone. So this morning I'm going to talk a little bit about meditation and just some of the pointers and things that I've found to be helpful on my own path. I see in the questions here, Elena asked a question. I'm falling asleep in meditation. How can I overcome it? So this is actually exactly the sort of thing I'm going to address here. So, so there's a lot of different approaches to meditation, a lot of techniques that are used in all different traditions. And all of these different traditions and techniques have certain core things in common. So it doesn't matter what the technique is, whether you're focused on the breath, body scan, a mantra, it's, what they have in common is they all have some aspect where there's a focusing or a concentration happening. So attention, concentration, and there's some aspect of surrender or equanimity. So concentration and surrender are really, common to all of these different techniques. And when we're in this state of concentration, in the brain science world, the neuroplasticity is really fired up when we're in a state of presence. So they say when neurons fire together, they wire together. So this is a rewiring process that's happening, and all of these techniques are sort of rewiring us. They're training a certain state or training a mind-body possibility, basically. So I'm going to dive into that aspect of meditation. So this is, most people on the path, they're, and most teachers are, as well, they're either sort of in the camp where they're using techniques or they're on the direct path. So there's this progressive path using techniques where we go through stages, we're sort of conditioning the self-structure, and then there's the direct path where we're inquiring into who we are beyond the conditioned self. And to me, it's not about one or the other. As I've mentioned, I talk about the pathless path. So it's a bit of a paradox. From one perspective, there is no path. Like the awareness that we want to awaken is ever present. How do you find a path to where you already are? How do you find a path to the now? What are the steps to arrive in the now? You're always in the now. What this is it's a case of mistaken identity. The sense of I is identified with this conditioned self, which is, it is the projection into the future and the past. So there is a path, there is a coming out of that identification, and it can be progressive. So there's a path until there isn't a path, until we wake up from the need for that. And when we wake up, we realize that it was always the conditioned self doing something that it felt it needed to do in order to wake up. It's sort of like we're self-interrupting, or we're interrupting that habit pattern of the mind, creating these conditions which make awakening more likely to happen. So in this process, as we start to interrupt that habit pattern, the mind's defenses will come up. That conditioned self, it wants to hold the control. So various hindrances start to come up. So the typical hindrances are tiredness coming up, pain in the body. As I talked about, there's real pain, which we need to take care of. It's the intelligence of the body saying, there's something to do. And then there's karmic pain, these samskaras that come up. So these are, the classic hindrances. Or the another hindrance is that the mind is wanting something to happen. It's really, it's looking for something in particular, or doubt. Doubt is another hindrance. The mind will say, what are we doing here? This is crazy. This is starting to doubt the path. Yeah, so there's many subtle different hindrances that can come up during our practice. And so, I'm going to talk about how, this cultivating of attention or concentration and, this surrender gradually it's freeing energy from these patterns, these patterns of wanting something to be other than what it is. So this question that came up, how I'm falling asleep while I'm meditating, how can I overcome it? There's a, just even in the question, quite often the question reveals the the thing that needs to be brought into attention. So, how can I overcome tiredness? So with all of these hindrances, there's there's even calling them hindrances. It's like something that we want to get rid of, we want to overcome. But as with everything in meditation, it's all sort of backwards, where the little self that wants to overcome it and get rid of it is part of it, actually. So so for tiredness, for example, there are two approaches, and both are really leading to the same thing. So I'm gonna give two sort of pathways or two examples. One using the direct inquiry, and one using a progressive path technique, and they arrive at the same sort of truth or the same realization. So for tiredness, the tiredness has a certain pattern. So we're all of these hindrances really can only take over. That tiredness can only take us over if it's unconscious. So what we want to do is make the pattern of that tiredness completely conscious. We want to observe all of the phenomena that's connected to that tiredness, so that it's just not a pattern running in the background. So so for example, there might be maybe there's a heaviness or a tension, a heaviness around the eyes. Maybe there's a feeling in the head associated with tiredness. The breath. Whenever there's something happening in the mind, there's also a change in the breath at the same time. So when that tiredness comes on, what's happening in the breath? Just notice these subtle changes. When the tiredness comes, the posture might change. There might be a slumping down, or or maybe there's a little weaving that starts to happen in the body. So we want to see every aspect connected to that tiredness. How is it changing? Is it a continuous tiredness? Was it changing in intensity through time? Is it and in the body, how is that changing? How, if we can take that whole pattern into view, and inhabit that pattern, then it starts to break up the habit pattern of the mind. So we're not pushing the tiredness away. We're actually in this approach, just seeing it, just becoming completely conscious of it, and by completely seeing it, we develop almost like an intimacy with it. We get to know it, and as soon as we fully make anything conscious, then it can be dropped. Again, it's only when it's running in the shadows that it really has power. So that's one approach to tiredness, and the same can be applied to really any hindrance that's coming up. We can do the same thing with sensations in the body. Actually, the Vipassana body scan is really exactly the same principle. We're just bringing attention through the body, just observing the phenomena with equanimity, with no preference to what sensations we find in the body. And I'm going to be sharing in some of the next meditations some of these techniques. So if you don't know the Vipassana body scan technique, it can be an amazing tool to have, just for purifying the samskaras. So this is one way to turn towards and just allow whatever is arising. And to me, a hindrance isn't a hindrance. The hindrance is actually your friend. The hindrance is coming up to show you the places where there is unconsciousness or where there may be blockage. So the hindrance is actually an invitation to bring consciousness to some part of your being. Whether it's doubts coming up, if doubts are coming up, what are those beliefs that are in play? What's happening in the mind? It's an invitation to bring consciousness to whatever is in play. And for me, the practice, this sort of perennial teaching, it's never about doing something. It's never about adding more activity to this busy mind. It's always about just observing the mind and seeing what it's already doing. And when we make it fully conscious, then energy follows consciousness. There's a freeing that will just naturally happen, but we don't make that happen with the little self. It's just a very natural process, just by observing. So this sort of technique-based approach or developmental approach is one way. And another way, which is very powerful, it can bring about an instant flip to awareness, to an awakening, is to simply inquire when these hindrances come up, and which way we go is really up to you. You can use your intuition with this. there's really no right or wrong, but we're usually drawn to one approach at different points on our path. So a direct approach, so if tiredness is arising, we can simply inquire, to whom does that tiredness belong? Who is tired? Who am I? And so obviously, if I really go into it, this mind-body structure is tired. But am I that mind-body structure? Who am I? There's an awareness that is aware of that mind-body structure. So, who am I? Am I aware of that mind-body structure? And when I really go into it, if I can directly experience who I am, this is coming back to that self-inquiry approach. If I can directly experience myself as that awareness, there's an instant flip. I've seen people, extremely exhausted in self-inquiry and meditation, and when we inquire and that flip happens, it's like they just light up. It's like, oh yeah, I'm the awareness. I'm just here. That tiredness is just happening in the body, but what does that have to do with me? So we want to directly inquire. So again, it's not the mind that does it. That awareness is closer than close. It's ever present. So we simply, in order to do that inquiry, we relax into this spaciousness of this presence, noticing, the mind's tendency to want something, and just relaxing all of that, relaxing the seeker, the doer, to just become aware of that awareness that is ever present. And whether we use, the technique of, looking at, the phenomena and allowing it, going into it, it doesn't really matter. If I inquire directly in this moment, as I mentioned, all of the samskaras, all the unconscious stuff is going to come up to be seen. So we're going to eventually deal with that. Or we can just go into the phenomena and eventually we'll come to presence. So in the films, I use the analogy, it's like burning a candle at both ends. So it doesn't really matter which end you're burning, or you can practice both, be drawn to both. It doesn't really matter. And that candle is the self structure, the conditioned self that is burning up in this process. So I'm going to, there's a few things I really like to clarify. I'm going to be using throughout the retreat certain words frequently, and I think it's been helpful for me to really clarify, when we hear these words from the teachings, what they're referring to. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about attention, concentration, and awareness. So first of all, so when we use the word concentration, to me, there's a difference. Sometimes we use concentration and attention interchangeably, but there actually is a little difference between the two, and it's important, I think, to take us deeper into the mechanism of what's happening when we're paying attention. So to me, concentration is the analogy I like to use is it's like a camera. So when we're concentrating, if I'm concentrating on a gong, I can turn my attention or turn my I can concentrate on the gong. So so it's like turning the camera. So I'm sort of narrowing, and that concentration can be narrow or it can be wide. It can be diffuse. So I could concentrate on some little thing, or I could concentrate, taking in a panorama of things. So just like a camera, the focus can change. So there's this, narrow and wide focus, and then there's the turning towards. So whenever there's a turning towards, this is the process in the mind. This is one of the skandhas actually, which I'll be talking about more in another talk. In a day or two, I'll be going into the skandhas, which are just these operations of the mind, and we want to really make contact with these operations. So this is not meant to be conceptual. This is something we can directly experience in our meditation. So the concentration is this narrowing and expanding, the moving of the direction, and it's different than attention. So attention to me is when, and this is how Patanjali and many of the meditation traditions speak of it this way as well. So attention is, when we say we have a meditation object, or we're focused on something, concentrating on something, the attention is the continuity of staying with that object through time. So it's like attention span. It's the attention span through time. It's the capacity moment by moment to stay with the meditation object. And so, Patanjali said, the attention should be continuous. It should be like, the analogy he uses is if you're pouring oil from a container, it should be like a continuous stream. So not broken up, but continuous attention towards the meditation object. So the concentration and attention are, these two aspects of the mind. This capacity of the mind to observe, and this is different than awareness. So when the great teachers, like Ramana Maharshi, talk about awareness, or Krishnamurti is a good example. Krishnamurti talks about awareness as being choiceless. So the mind is what's choosing. The mind is that camera. The mind is choosing to turn here or there. But there's an awareness of that. So awareness is just aware. Awareness has no quality. It has no characteristic. Another way of saying it, it's just pure consciousness. So when we intend to directly experience our true nature, it's that awareness. That's the awareness, the one with no quality. It's simply beingness or I amness that is here. It's that which it's taking in the show, but it's not doing anything in the show. It's just here for the show, and that's you. That's me. We're here for the show. So these are the distinctions. So I never talk about turning awareness. Awareness, with the way I use it in my language is, I'm pointing to that which has no characteristic. So like Krishnamurti, the same way he uses it, it's choiceless. Yeah. So yeah, and again, these different approaches, like Krishnamurti, it's interesting. He really wasn't into techniques. He actually really slammed all of the traditions that use techniques because it was so clear to him that awareness is just choiceless. It's just here, and of course it is. But to me, there's something to be gained. There's stepping stones. Like for Krishnamurti's teachings, there's not much of an on-ramp. Like he just gives you the absolute truth, and you either get it or you don't. And then on the flip side, you have teachers like S.N. Goenka, who he's teaching the Vipassana technique, this body scan technique, and for him, that's it. That's what leads to liberation is doing this technique. And again, it's they're both right. They're both totally viable approaches, and they end up coming to the same samadhi, the one realization. So it doesn't matter which way we go. So yeah, there's a teaching from the Bhagavad Gita, and I usually mention this teaching, and different traditions have different ways of teaching this. Even in Christianity, Saint John of the Cross has this very same teaching. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there is this story called the bird's eye, and some of you have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again because it's really important. This is really about like the key to single-pointedness in your practice. So there's a famous teacher, Dronacharya, who has a group of students, and he takes them into the forest. And the students are all at different levels and skills of meditation. And so he sets up a little wooden bird in a tree, and this is the analogy is archery. So he has them all with bows and arrows, and one of the students is Arjuna, who is he's very advanced. So the teacher leaves him for the last, and so the teacher gets all of the students to come up one by one, taking aim at this little bird, and the instruction is to hit the eye of the bird with the arrow. So this is, it's like what you're asked to do in your meditation practice is to take aim at your meditation object. So the breath or, sensations or the third eye, whatever it is. So we take aim at the meditation object. And so each student comes up and takes aim at this bird, And in that moment where they take aim, the teacher asks them, "What do you see? What do you see?" So, so he gets all different answers. So the first person says, I see the bird, I see the people around us, I see my arrow, and the teacher says, "No, that's no good. Go sit down." And the next person comes up and says, I see in my mind's eye the arrow going into the eye of the bird. And he's like, "Oh, it's a little better, but no, it's still not it." And, and different people have all different answers. Somebody says, there is no bird, just because they think that might be the right answer. And he's like, "No, nice try. That's not it." So one by one, they say what they see. And finally and nobody gets it. And then Arjuna comes up, and Arjuna is a world-class meditator. So he takes aim, and the teacher asks, "What do you see?" And he says, "I see only the eye of the bird. I see only the eye of the bird." And that's it. It's so simple. There's nothing else needed. There's no looking around. That camera of the mind is, it's single pointed focus. I see only the eye of the bird. So when we're using a meditation object, we want that concentration, not to be moving around, not looking here or there, but only on the breath, or only on the third eye, whatever your object is. And that can be a narrow focus, just observing the air going in and out of the nostrils, or it can be a wide focus of the belly, air going in and out of the belly and chest, or even wider, and the expansion and contraction through the whole body. But we stay focused only on the breath. So that continuous attention through time, as Patanjali said, that unbroken stream. So keeping concentrated on that one thing and attention through time, the continuity through time. Yeah, and it's that single pointedness that they say in Taoism, chi follows consciousness. So when that consciousness, when that single pointedness is there, the energy follows. This whole clearing or purification process really kicks into gear. So this is what we want. And there are different variations of this in different traditions. So Saint John of the Cross, he uses this. It's called the ascent of Mount Carmel. So Mount Carmel is this mountain representing the path to God, basically. And so he's using Christian language, but he says, when you ascend that mountain, when you start to climb that mountain, you don't look here or there, don't look left or right. You just go straight ahead. So whatever you meet on the mountain, you don't stop to pick the flowers. If you don't get scared by the creatures that you might meet, or get distracted, go off the path. But you just go straight ahead. Yeah. So don't look left or right. So yeah, you know, when we have this intention to, you know, apply this single pointedness, you know, this is when the hindrances really come up, and you know, these hindrances, like all of them, really are just the preferences of the little conditioned self. You know, every hindrance, you know, the little self prefers pleasure over pain, of course. You know, the little self prefers to be in control, to know what's happening in this process, rather than being confused or in this state of not knowing. So I'm going to read a teaching that comes from the Zen tradition, and you know, I've actually made little video recordings of this one, but it really cuts to the heart, and of you know, what's going on in this process. This one's called The Great Way, sometimes called the Faith Mind poem, and it's about these preferences that are really, you know, in play in this process. So if we can see, you know, understand that when we apply this concentration, surrender, continuous attention, you know, that the preferences of the ego will come up. We can expect it. We can make that fully conscious. Then these preferences can be dropped. So I'm going to read this poem. It takes about 20 minutes. And then I'm just going to, we'll take a 5-minute break. I'm not going to comment on it. I'm just going to let it sort of linger and allow you to really be with it. And then we're going to go into our meditation practice. And I'm not going to give an instruction in this meditation practice. I'm going to give some techniques later on. I'm just going to let you sit with this poem, because this is really the deepest truth that I've come across, or that one of the deepest ways of conveying the truth, or pointing to the truth. And this 1 hour meditation will be a meditation of strong determination as well. So so you can really start to observe the you know, the preferences within the self structure. Just see if you're sitting, you know, and you're not moving, what comes up within the mind and body. So this is The Great Way by Sozan, one of the great Zen teachers. I believe he is the third patriarch of Zen. The Great Way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of things is not understood, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect, like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. Live neither in the entanglements of outer things, nor in inner feelings of emptiness. Be serene in the oneness of things, and such erroneous views will disappear by themselves. When you try to stop activity to achieve passivity, your very effort fills you with activity. As long as you remain in one extreme or the other, you will never know oneness. Those who do not live in the single way fail in both activity and passivity, assertion and denial. To deny the reality of things is to miss their reality. To assert the emptiness of things is to miss their reality. The more you talk and think about it, the further astray you wander from the truth. Stop talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. To return to the root is to find the meaning, but to pursue appearances is to miss the source. At the moment of inner enlightenment, there is a going beyond appearance and emptiness. The changes that appear to occur in the empty world we call real only because of our ignorance. Do not search for the truth. Only cease to cherish opinions. Do not remain in the dualistic state. Avoid such pursuits carefully. If there is even a trace of this and that, of right and wrong, the mind essence will be lost in confusion. Although all dualities come from the One, do not be attached even to this one. When the mind exists, undisturbed in the way, nothing in the world can offend. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. When no discriminating thoughts arise, the old mind ceases to exist. When thought objects vanish, the thinking subject vanishes. As when the mind vanishes, objects vanish. Things are objects because of the subject. The mind is such because of things. Understand the relativity of these two and the basic reality, the unity of emptiness. In this emptiness, the two are indistinguishable, and each contains in itself the whole world. If you do not discriminate between coarse and fine, you will not be tempted to prejudice and opinion. To live in the great way is neither easy nor difficult, but those with limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go, and their clinging cannot be limited. Even to be attached to the idea of enlightenment is to go astray. Just let things be in their own way, and there will be neither coming nor going. Obey the nature of things, and you will walk freely and undisturbed. When thought is in bondage, the truth is hidden, for everything is murky and unclear, and the burdensome practice of judging brings annoyance and weariness. What benefit can be derived from distinctions and separations? If you wish to move in the one way, do not dislike even the world of senses and ideas. Indeed, to accept them fully is identical with true enlightenment. The wise person strives toward no goals, but the foolish person fetters themselves. There is one Dharma, not many. Distinctions arise from the clinging needs of the ignorant. To seek mind with the discriminating mind is the greatest of all mistakes. And mind here is capitalized. So to seek the true self with the discriminating mind, with the limited mind, is the greatest of all mistakes. Rest and unrest derive from illusion. With enlightenment, there is no liking and disliking. All dualities come from ignorant inference. They are like dreams or flowers in the air, foolish to try and grasp them. Gain and loss, right and wrong, such thoughts must finally be abolished at once. If the eye never sleeps, all dreams will naturally cease. If the mind makes no discriminations, the 10,000 things are as they are, of single essence. To understand the mystery of this one essence is to be released from all entanglements. When all things are seen equally, the timeless self-essence is reached. No comparisons or analogies are possible in this causeless, relationless state. Consider movement stationary and the stationary in motion, and both movement and rest disappear. When such dualities cease to exist, oneness itself cannot exist. To this ultimate finality, no law or description applies. For the unified mind, in accord with the way, all self-centered striving ceases. Doubts and irresolutions vanish, and life in true faith is possible. And when they say true faith, some translations say life in beginner's mind is possible. So doubts and irresolutions vanish, and life in beginner's mind is possible. With a single stroke, we are freed from bondage. Nothing clings to us, and we hold to nothing. All is empty, clear, self-illuminating, with no exertion of the mind's power. Here, thought, feeling, knowledge, and imagination are of no value. In this world of suchness, there is neither self nor other than self. To come directly into harmony with this reality, just simply say when doubt arises, not to. In this not to, nothing is separate, nothing is excluded. No matter when or where, enlightenment means entering this non-dual truth. And this truth is beyond extension or diminution in time or space. In it, a single thought is 10,000 years. Emptiness here, emptiness there, but the infinite universe stands always before your eyes. Infinitely large and infinitely small, no difference, for definitions have vanished and no boundaries are seen. So too with being and non-being. Don't waste time in doubts and arguments that have nothing to do with this. One thing, all things, move among and intermingle without distinction. To live in this realization is to be without anxiety about non-perfection. To live in this beginner's mind is the road to non-duality, because the non-dual is one with the trusting mind. Words. The way is beyond language, for in it there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, no today. So we'll take a 5-minute break and come back for meditation. And we'll just go directly into meditation. So we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back for group process. Okay, so we're going to do what's called group process now for those who haven't done it before. And it's just an opportunity to discuss the practice and whatever is coming up for you. And just to share, if there's anything, sometimes the hindrances, just, if we explain them in a slightly different way, or I have different techniques that I can offer for different things that come up on the path. And I see there's a few questions in the chat here. I'm just going to address those quickly here. So Kristen wants to know, what about the monkey mind scenarios running continuously? Yeah, so the monkey mind. So I have a technique for that. It's kind of, these thoughts that come up. It's kind of a unique hindrance because we'll be, staying with our breath or our meditation object, and then all of a sudden we're gone in some thought or some scenario or some thing playing out in the mind, and it just snags us, and we're gone. So the question is, how do we move beyond that? And so I'm going to be offering a technique for that. It's the same with all the hindrances, like the thoughts. We simply want to make that whole process more conscious. So there's a specific technique for looking at the thoughts, so that we, every thought that comes up is either something visual, there's something like an image in the mind, or there's an auditory component. There's like a self-talk component to it, or it's a combination of both. So visual, auditory, or both. So we're going to use a technique, and I'll guide you through it in the afternoon meditation. And it's one that is really useful for, if we, we're not staying with the meditation object, if, these thoughts really are taking over the meditation, then this technique is a perfect technique to address that. And again, we're not trying to get rid of the thoughts. We're not trying to kill the monkey mind or anything like that. We're just making it fully conscious. All of these unconscious thoughts and phenomena that are coming up, we really, this is part of the process. When we intend to directly know ourselves, then all of this stuff comes up from the surface and these thoughts. So we're not trying to get rid of that. We're just trying to allow it fully, have a complete experience of it, make it fully conscious. Yeah. And Cindy is asking about, she's not able to sit, restless legs, skin itches. If I don't move, I feel like screaming. My body hurts in an uncomfortable way. Is this the samskaras wanting to come up? Yeah, so probably it's probably samskaras coming up. Unless there's some sort of a medical reason for that happening. Quite often, when there's energy building up, sometimes the body will spontaneously move. The kriyas in yoga are just that. It's the energy moving the body in different ways, and that that energy has its own intelligence. So you can, when that's happening, just notice who is moving the body or who wants to move the body. So is it that little conditioned mind looking for relief? Is it looking for comfort and release, or is there an energy starting to break through, and it's the energy that's moving the body, and there's a difference there. So the question is, is the movement okay? And yeah, I would just say, just observe who is moving. Sometimes the mind can get involved with movement, and so it's okay if the body moves into a position, the energy is doing its thing. That's totally fine. But just notice if there's a sense that you are, the I thought is involved with that, and and just explore it. Yeah, there's not that whatever is going on with these samskaras. So I'm going to actually offer two techniques in the next meditation session. So there's the one for breaking the thought patterns, and I'm going to be doing the Vipassana body scan. So the body scan is amazing for breaking up the samskaras within the somatic field. That could be very useful for that as well. Um, and I think, yeah, Anna's question seems very similar. Yeah, observing the pain, feeling loss. So yeah, again, um, yeah, so this Vipassana body scan, I think, will address a lot of these questions. It's really like there's no easy way through it. These habit patterns in the mind and body. It can be difficult to move through, but the key in that technique is equanimity. If we can just be equanimous with whatever is coming up. If we're feeling lost, the mind doesn't know what to do. That's actually a really good thing if we can just allow that. That's really a don't know mind. If we judge it and say no, I want to know, then it seems like a bad thing. But that being a little lost is actually really good. That's like in the mystical traditions, they say you have to get lost to be found. So it's not a bad thing if we can just allow it to be as it is. Um, yeah, so I think I'm gonna jump to, if people are adding more in the chat there. So I think I'm just gonna jump to uh, live people here. So
Andy.
thank you, Tayama.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
On the dyads, I found myself just kind of reporting very mundane sensations and thoughts, and that um, kind of, led me to think, okay, maybe I'm not doing it right, or leading to like some doubts about the practice, which I then reported some of those thoughts. So I might thought you might want to, if you can speak to that for just briefly, and just really quick, for the longer sessions. Would you discourage doing some of it sitting and then some of it lying down if you find that comfortable? I was able to sit for an hour with some difficulty, but like for the 90 minutes or the 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
would you discourage kind of splitting up and maybe lying down for some of it?
Yeah, I'll answer that one first. So, um, yeah, so when you lie down, do you get drowsy and fall asleep? Like most people do. It's very hard to stay awake when you're lying down. So, it's like generally I discourage it. Like when in our Zendo, that's the one rule of the Zendo is no lying down. Um, just because people end up sleeping and snoring, and the longer you can move, like stay, in a seated meditation posture, like the energy starts to break through. So there is like a building and an intensity to it. And there's a middle way to navigate it. It can be um, you know difficult, and we don't want to overwhelm the nervous system. So everyone has to kind of navigate it. Kind of moving beyond your comfort zone, but not so far beyond your comfort zone that you're gonna, you know, blast your nervous system or go into overwhelm. Yeah, yeah. Does that make sense? Thanks.
Serge.
Oh yeah,
Thank you,
sorry.
Don.
There was a dyad
Oh,
question there. Sorry, I blanked on the dyad question as well. I'll just answer that. Yeah, so mundane phenomena coming up in the dyad. Um, yeah, so um, where did you go? I can't even see you now on my screen here, but um, yeah, so in the dyads, there can be this tendency to like I call it like giving a weather report. It's like we're just reporting mundane phenomena. So we really want to um, we want to focus on the phenomena that's coming up specifically as a result of the inquiry. Um, so if you notice that you're just sort of repeating the same thing, the mind is kind of on a loop, just reporting phenomena. That it's not very satisfying. It's kind of frustrating. It seems kind of pointless. So you can feel that frustration, feel that pointlessness, and that the energy of that can take you deeper. Um, yeah, so I would say just keep investigating. Don't be satisfied with just the mundane phenomena. Really see what is in play. Look for the subtle, and there may be things that are being held back that need to be expressed. They're just right under the surface, that want to come up. So just keep going. There's a go in the direction just of feeling it. Not conceptualizing or analyzing, but if you can, in almost a childlike way, just play with it and just allow whatever wants to move and come. Yeah, thank you.
okay.
Hmm.
Thank you, Don.
Hmm.
Two quick questions. The first one is the focus of attention for or during meditation. It could just be listen to the heartbeat or concentrating in the in and out breath. And then how can I distinguish clearly from the I thought and the real I or awareness?
Hmm.
Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah, so yeah, the distinguishing between the I thought, like the I thought is simply the resistance to what is, in the present moment, whatever's coming up, through the mind, the concepts, the beliefs, the sensations. If there's any preference in any of that, that's the I thought. And all of that phenomena is just coming and going constantly. Thoughts and sensations, emotions, perceptions, all of that is just arising and passing away. But there's one thing that doesn't change, and that's the true self, the true awareness. So when we wake up, when that wakes up, um, there's no there's no question anymore. That questioning mind has dropped away. So it's not like there's an I, that distinguishes between the real I and the other I. It's like you just wake up from that identification. Um, so you don't need to figure it out. You don't need to
anymore.
distinguish. Yeah, it's more of a stripping away process, a dissolving of that, of those preferences and those illusions of the mind. Yeah.
And that dissolving away is just gradually because I have had many experiences of the emptiness or the endless space
Yeah.
or
Yeah, it can be gradual or it can happen all at once. But all of those experiences, you know, those peak experiences that you've had, you know, changes in consciousness, changes in energy, whatever it was, um, there's one, you know, one awareness that is the knower of those all of those experiences. So we want to directly experience that one, you know, have a direct experience of the knower or the, you know, the one that doesn't change, that awareness.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And sorry, what was the first
Yeah,
question again?
the first one is just about on meditation. I can just pick any object as my concentration point, or
Yeah, so what are you using in your meditation right now?
well, for this one, I usually I didn't use anything prior, but for this past one, I use the breath,
Hmm.
the
And,
intake and the outtake.
and how is your concentration? Like how long are you able to concentrate on the breath?
I was able to stay quite a bit longer than in previous times, and the monkey mind was less
Yeah.
of a disturbance.
So yeah, so we, you know, we can use our inner guidance, I guess, to
Yeah,
you know, like, so if the concentration is good, you know, the inner energy is sort of flowing,
building.
yeah, and you know, there's a sort of surrender happening. Then, you know, for me, like these techniques are great to bring us to a point where we can just sit, we can just be, you know, whether we call that choiceless awareness or you know, just sitting, but you know, so there's a way to navigate it where you know, once you feel that concentration and attention is there, you know, and that you're present, then really, to me, like true meditation is just being. Eventually, we drop these techniques, and it's like, you know, the you know, what they're doing, that wiring sort of gets established so that that attention is here and the mind is somewhat settled. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm. Thank you.
Maria.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, Dan. I have a twofold question that's tied together. So I've been meditating and I can go very deep and very long. I can get dropped instantly out. But what happens continuously is always some kind of geometric kaleidoscope continuously, whereas I don't even feel that I'm the body anymore and I'm part of that geometric pattern. And then obviously the ego starts to play around and I keep going back to that. And it just feels this blissful state. Is that samadhi?
Um, you know, I'll be talking a little bit about the different states in detail in the next few days. But you know, what you're describing, like a kaleidoscope, are you feeling an energy as well at the same time, like a movement of energy in the body, and or is
I
it
don't
most?
feel it in the body, I feel it around me, and a lot of times I'll hear or see visuals or get instant information in my head, and then my
Yeah.
ego takes me back and I play with that.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like there are different systems that kind of divide the phenomena up differently, but I would say it sounds like one of the jhana states, which are there's stages of meditative absorption, basically. So when the energy starts to become free of its usual pattern, there's a phenomena that can be produced, and it can be produced in any of the senses. So sometimes we feel it in the body, sometimes there's visuals, there can be sounds, and it's a sign that you're moving in the right direction. It means that the energy is becoming more free. So you just treat it as phenomena. We don't want to get too interested in it, and we don't want to shut it down, definitely. So you just allow it to unfold, but just keep continuing the practice. Yeah.
Okay, so that confuses me because I always have trouble with yoga nidras, like last night and in the past, or body scans. As soon as I do that, I feel like I'm focusing inwards and I have like leg anxiety. So the only way I can come out of that is usually like a qigong type movement afterwards. Like last night, the anxieties in my legs were a lot afterwards. So I got up, I did some qigong and kind of settled that energy. But I feel like my legs just want to come out of themselves when I do this body scan thing. What is
Mm-hmm.
going on there? I
Mm-hmm.
help myself with that.
Yeah, so it sounds like yeah, there's energy there that is maybe a resistance, a form of resistance in that energy. So I would say, like there's a reason why in the yogic traditions and, qigong, like moving the body, moving the energy. So if that's helpful, it's one way to deal with it. Um, Another way is, like if in our practice we want to have equanimity. So when that restlessness comes or whatever it is, we want to surrender, and eventually, like that energy will break through. It will, but we don't want to brutalize ourselves in that process. So, there's there was a time I was at a Zen center where I was in, like, it was excruciating on the cushion, but the way they create conditions of no escape, I couldn't move, and or I believed I couldn't move, and they, the energy broke through in that scenario because I reached that, something had to give inside where the energy would become free of those patterns. So there's almost like an alchemy that happens in this process, where if we come to the point where the little self, it feels like it's dying, or it feels like it can't handle it anymore, but then something gives. So if we dissipate that energy by through movement, we can do that. It's a relief, but then we never get the breakthrough. So there's a kind of a middle way to navigate that, to not go too much, but to go kind of beyond our comfort zone and surrender into it as well.
Okay, thanks. So it sounds like using qigong or anything to get out of it is almost going to become like a dependent crutch at some point. So it's better just to stay in it. It's almost like a pimple popping. Just let it come out as opposed to looking for the crutch. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a time for that practice as well. So yeah, but you can play with it, and it definitely could become a form of, the little self will use it as a way out, basically. Hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everybody. I want to thank you, Dan, first of all, for everything you're doing through your movies and to this retreat to help us awaken. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
During a dyad last night, I was feeling my body and feeling the emotions that were coming through. And I felt a deep sense of joy. And I was wondering, is this joy something that is just passing, or does the real self actually, is it joy? Is it a constant joy? And if so, what is the real self? Is it really like an empty space in which emotions emerge and then go away? Or is there also part of it, like a deep kind of joy that is there permanently? That's my first question. And then the second one is a more logical question, because my logical mind is trying to understand what's going on. It's simply, if there is this self, with the uppercase S and then small self, this self, this real self, is it not already awake?
Yeah.
Yes, is it not already awake?
Yes. Yes.
See what I mean?
Okay. Two good ones. Yeah. So yeah. So the joy. So so within the mind and body, there are these you know, there's it's I see it as a continuum. You know, on one end of the continuum is you know, like the union samadhi state. You know, like a savakalpa samadhi, which is it's full union with, you know, all that is. You know, so that's one end of the continuum. You know, extreme joy, love, bliss, all of that. And then, you know, the other end of the continuum is total identification and, you know, hellish experience of you know, wanting, feeling separate. There's separation on the other end of the continuum. So this is life, is that continuum. So so the awareness that is ever present, you know, within that, all of that changing phenomena is the true self. And so when the sense of I flips from the character experiencing that continuum to the awareness, there's a change in there's a sort of peace that comes from not from being free of all of that, but free of the preferences and the you know, choosing of one state over another, and this constant seeking and searching. So there's like a relief that comes. It's like coming home to the truth, and it's a peace that's not contingent on anything external. So it's not the same type. It's not the joy that is on that continuum. It's a unique thing. It's a peace that comes from knowing who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But what is it that knows, that uh, realize, realizes itself? Is it
That's
the
that's
real
what.
self that realizes itself, or is the
Yeah, so that's what
that's my second
I
question.
can't answer that for you. That's what you have to
Uh-huh.
directly experience that. You know, I can say some words, but the words are not going to be satisfying. So it has to be direct. It's not conceptual.
Yeah,
So you know,
yeah.
in your inquiry, you will, you know, when I say, you know, intend to directly experience, you that's exactly what you'll find out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that question won't be there.
Okay.
And it, you know, the second question is very related. The you know, that awareness is ever present, but it, you know, so upon awakening, what's realized is that, you know, the awareness was always here, but somehow the sense of I has become entangled with this character. You know, but the awareness has always been here. It's been taking in the whole drama of the little me the whole time, you know, watching the show. But it had gone unnoticed, or it wasn't awake to itself, even though it was awake. And you know, the paradox is, you know, everything, like upon awakening, everything is that, like everything is awake on one level. Like everything is perfect as it is from that awakened consciousness level. It's only when there's this the sense of I becomes entangled with this little character that there's this belief in separation, and that, you know, we have an experience of being this character, so it's the experience of being asleep, but awareness is always just, it has no quality. It's not awake or asleep. It's just, you know, it's like it's just there. You know, it's just always there, and that sense of I is what flips. Mhm. So the question is, you know,
Okay, fantastic.
who are you? You know, like inquire into that I. You know, is the I the character, or is there something closer, something more direct that can be directly experienced? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I have to drop these filters or these programs that are hiding
Yeah.
the real self.
Yeah, that's it.
Something's,
Like the analogy that's always used by teachers is, you know, the self is like the sun, you know, it's always there. There's or you know, or the sky itself, you know, this vast sky, you know, the clouds are coming and going, and we're focused on the clouds, on the thoughts, on the content of what's in the sky, but the sky is always there. You know, it doesn't change. So.
yeah. Thank you so much, Dan.
Mhm.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Alina.
Hi, Elena. Oh, you're
We
muted
can't
there.
hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, Dan. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, and I wanted to share something related to my previous question today. So in the morning, I was like knocked out. I couldn't do the meditation, so I was getting asleep, very tired, and trying to concentrate on my third eye because breathe doesn't work for me. When I concentrate on the breathe, there is not the spot to concentrate, it's everywhere. So the third eye works better for me. However, in the morning, I couldn't do this. And maybe for a few minutes, but it was jumping up and down, and I was trying to come back. And then this time meditation, it's up and down for 45 minutes, and then suddenly in 45 minutes, about that time, I got this awareness, great concentration, and the feeling of that grace or bliss or whatever it is. Just beautiful sparkle, and that's it. And then a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if that is normal jumping up and down, because on diets yesterday, my mind, nothing bothered me. Absolutely not thoughts. It just that feeling of, this energy, me, and it was beautiful. There weren't a lot of no words, just and my partner was wondering what's going on, why is this? So I was feeling very beautifully rested, happy, and just harmony. I don't know how to describe it. My English is fifth language, so I'm sorry for that. But today in the morning, this happened, but now it seems like I'm awakened. But I noticed that stage starts after a while, like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So my question is if that is normal jumping up and down. And the second is related to what you said. I believe I read somewhere there are 8 stages of samadhi. So I'm looking forward for the lesson from you about what stage it could be in my situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, so just to clarify, so this state that you're describing, where it's like it comes around 40 minutes or 45 minutes into your meditation, and it's more challenging. Is that right? The more challenging stage, or or
No,
is
in
it,
45 minutes, I got the bliss. It's
okay? So
beautiful.
the bliss
It's
comes
energy.
after. I see.
Yeah, after 45 minutes. But these 45 minutes just knocking out and come back and, getting
Hmm.
to sleep, come back, a lot of
Hmm.
thoughts, some situations, something I never met in this lifetime.
Yeah. Okay.
Something comes up. And then in 45 minutes, it's just perfect awareness and
Hmm.
great concentration on third eye and
Yeah.
beautiful energy, the bliss
Yeah.
comes.
And it sounds like you really like that state, and you want to
Yes,
stay
it's
there.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to come back from the meditation, and
Yeah.
a lot of energy comes, so I was very sleepy in the morning. It's difficult time for me to wake up at 5, 6,
Yeah.
but now I have so much energy and I didn't want to come back. So
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm gonna go back to that poem that I read earlier, and about the no preferences. Um, so it's very hard when we experience a beautiful state. I don't know particularly what that state it was, but probably one of the jhana states, an absorption state, and it's very very hard for us to not have a preference around these states, but but it's temporary. Anything that is in the phenomenal world is just temporary. So even these beautiful peak states, they just come and go, and the real equanimity and the real knowing of ourself is in dropping the preference to any state in our meditation. And the faster we can just allow everything to be as it is, the more progress we make in the practice. So the question is, who is the knower of those states? There are states that are beautiful and you like, and there are other states that are not. So, but the one who is experiencing those states is you. It's the one. So who is that? If you can directly experience that one, then the awareness has no preference of these states. They can be allowed to come and go, and 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 it's beautiful to allow them to come and go. You can have complete experiences of those states. Experience them fully, and without the grasping, and without any grasping, you experience it even more, actually. So I would just say, watch the mind preferences around it. To me, there's, just doing this work, there's no, what we say is a good meditation. You know, like to me, sometimes it's like when the deep, murky stuff is coming up from the depths, and being excavated. Actually, that might be the most beneficial thing that needs to happen, and it's not comfortable, especially if we just had a beautiful, very Zen-like meditation. It's the last thing the mind wants, but sometimes that's where you know, the real gold is, to really free the energy from those depths. Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, we have a question from Lina who can't raise her hand,
Okay.
and she wants to know, she doesn't know how to stop judging herself when she's in her thoughts, and it gives her frustration. She tried then praising herself and staying in the now, but her concentration got diluted. So how does she stop doing this? This was Lina.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so this technique that I'm going to offer this afternoon could be very useful for that. Any thought pattern that's in play, that what we're going to be doing is just observing. We're going to be sort of watching the thoughts and just labeling them as visual or auditory or both. And so in this technique, we just watch the mind, and we just see what the content of the thought is. So so if it's a self-judgment thought or guilt or whatever it is, we don't need to go into the story of it or play the thought out. We just note it. We just say, okay, that's the little voice, auditory, and once we've noted it, it kind of loses its power. It's amazing how just by making it conscious, it's like, okay, that's an auditory thought coming up in the mind. I'm noting that. I had a retreat a long time ago where when I was, it's a long story, but I was in the music industry, and I had a business, and my business was, I was getting sued by someone at the time, and I had all these thoughts. It was just a pattern coming up in the mind over and over, worrying about money and business and all this stuff, and I used this thought breaking technique to just start labeling the thoughts coming up. And some of these thoughts, they were really big, juicy thoughts. They were like, worrying about my, my existence, and somebody trying to take everything, and but then you just label it. It's like, okay, that's auditory, and then it's like, it just kind of dissipates. It's like popping a balloon almost. And we just stay with this practice, and the thought might keep coming back, and we just keep noting, and by hanging out in a different layer of the mind, we start to see these recurring patterns of different types of thoughts, and it starts to dissipate the energy of it, and so we basically using the mind to break up a habit pattern of the mind. And it's a very simple technique, but it's very powerful. So yeah, so I'll be guiding you through that later.
Moon a moon.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi there. Yes.
Yes, hi. So I've been having this experience lately, where when I'm meditating, I don't know if it's that I get deep into the meditation or I fall asleep, but it's suddenly like I don't exist anymore. There was one at a time, because it just started happening. There's one at a time where it's like I was coming to or coming out of it, where I was hearing, I guess, my thoughts or something. It was very soft. It's not like it normally is, because I've had meditation where I go deep into it and it's like I'm holding a conversation with, I have no idea who, but then it's like I'll jerk out of it. But these times when it happened, is like when I come to, I find that I'm slumped over. I gently sit up, and then next thing you know, I'm coming to again and I'm slumped over. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's that I'm falling asleep or if that's
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
that I'm not aware in there. It's just
So what is the so first of all, what are you using as are you using a meditation object in your meditation?
I tend to try to either experience whatever energy is going on through my body or listen. I don't try to hold on to one thing. I've done that before, it worked, and I'm trying to expand to where I just allow whatever, to
Okay.
come.
So do you feel your concentration is pretty good?
Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because after like moments like that, then it's as if the mind is like coming at me at every angle.
Mm-hmm.
This last meditation that we just came out of, the mind just kept going, like it would not allow me to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried to focus on the breath, that didn't work. So then I started doing like an inquiry and questioning.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, I'm hearing her name is Carly. And I'm like, okay, who the hell is Carly and why is that popping up in my head?
Mm-hmm. Mhm. So when this happens, so when the body, so it feels like you're kind of falling asleep or
No,
losing
it's just that
presence. Okay.
it's just that I'm coming to, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I wasn't experiencing my body.
Hmm.
It's like I just completely gone.
So what
And
is
it
your
doesn't,
experience in that moment then? Can
it's
you
just
describe?
calm and peace. It's not, you know.
Hmm.
So, and I know normally when I do meditate and I'm really tired, even if I'm aware that I am deep in meditation, whenever I come out, I feel refreshed.
Hmm. Hmm. So you're aware when this happens.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
just now, this time when it happened, it's like my body and the mind just completely vanished.
yeah, interesting. Okay, so yeah, so if there's a sense that you're aware, um, yeah, so how do you feel about like what's happening? Like, do you feel that it's a problem, or you're just
Um,
not sure what it
I'm
is?
not sure. I'm
Yeah.
actually, I've noticed that the past few weeks, I've kind of not have any emotions. It's like I'll laugh at things, I'll find it funny, but it's like I don't know how to label things anymore. I don't know how to label it if it's good. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I'm not sure about what's going on. It sounds like like if the mind and body dropping off is a very deep stage of meditation. There's a stage of meditative absorption where it's like the mind and body drop off. So if you're aware, like if there's a very it's not like you're losing consciousness or zoning out or anything, but awareness is present. Um, yeah, I would say just keep exploring it. I don't really know one way or another, but I think it'll sort of resolve itself or become more clear. I think what this is as you explore it. But
okay.
if the sense of if there's a sense that you're aware, and the mind and body have just sort of disappeared or dropped away, that's not a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, but if you're there's a sense that you're losing consciousness and just going into dreamland or zoning out, then I would say then concentration techniques would be better. Um, so yeah, I don't really have any particular thing except just keep exploring.
Okay. I also have another thing because there was a time when I was meditating yesterday, and for some strange reason, I started see I see a lot of colors during my meditation, and you see them in different shapes, vortex and stuff like that. But this last time, I just kept seeing like a bunch of diamonds just coming down, swirling around the colors, everything, and I'm just curious to know. You probably don't even know what that has to do with anything, and the mind is just still curious.
Yeah, yeah. I could make something up, but I don't really know. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
there's so much phenomena that I've experienced and I've heard reported, and um, and sometimes these things, there are things that come from, you could say, like a higher level of mind. They can be symbolic for you, just on your path and your journey, so um, yeah, I don't dismiss them as just phenomena. Sometimes it can be a little message from, to integrate from another part of ourselves. So yeah. Hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Veronica.
Hello.
Hi, Veronica.
So I had a question that's just based on some things that you were saying to Matt, and also Just about like the higher self. Like I notice even when I'm doing dyads or I'm in a deep meditation, there's really no words that come up to describe any of that. It's just like there's more words when the mind is involved. So when we speak to people in general, just in our everyday life, is there ever really a conversation that's not ego based? Like, can we ever really have an fully authentic conversation when there's really no words with the higher self?
Hmm.
Maybe some are more grounded and more enlightened than others, but in
Mhm.
general, like there's really not a lot of verbatory expression when it comes to that.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I think there's, I think Rumi said, silence is the language of God, and everything else is just sort of mistranslation. So I think that the deepest communion of um, ourself with ourself is in the wordless. But I also think there is a way to be free in these human avatars that is like a spontaneous just expression of that one. Um, if you think back to being a little kid, kind of before the personality is constructed. A little kid is just very free and spontaneous, and they don't need to look for themselves. They're just being themselves, and to me there is a way to sort of drop this this filter that we've cultivated, this kind of reducing valve of the limited self, so that energy can just kind of move spontaneously, and that's really, when we intend to directly experience who we are, what comes out then is, we learn to convey who we are to others, just by our being, just by our energy, just by our aliveness. It's like something comes online when that little filter drops away. And to me, that's the authenticity, is when there's no little mediator strategizing or trying to make anything happen. It's just like a free energy coming through. It's like life coming through.
Yeah, because I could be in a conversation with like my spouse and she'll say something to me like, well, who just asked me that? Or who just said that? And sometimes it's just like a spontaneous thought or something that I've said that I didn't really give a lot of thought to. And then I'm like, then I'm starting to question well, who did say that? Where did that come from? Is that an old program, or is that just, it's like, then I go
Yeah,
through the whole dialogue with it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Like when you watch little kids, there's an ease in their being. There's not this self-consciousness, and there's an energy and aliveness in some of them. Not all kids, um, yeah, it's like that saying, to enter the kingdom of heaven, we become as little children, and there is this coming back to that kind of freedom, that spontaneity. Yeah. Thank you.
Jill.
Hi, Jill. You're muted.
You see them?
Okay,
There
okay,
you go.
there it goes.
You got
Yeah,
it.
there it goes. My battery is low, so I didn't know if that was the interference or not. Okay, so here's my question. So when I first start out meditating, I do a lot of breathing just to get myself settled down.
Like a
And I can
pranayama
get
kind of,
into, I'm sorry, say that again.
like a pranayama kind of breathing, or?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay. Just
I'm kind of new to it. I mean, I just go up, I
okay.
breathe up, and then I breathe down.
Okay, yeah.
and I breathe up, and I try and get very, very still and very, very quiet. And I do until the head or a sensation starts coming in. And sometimes I'm swept away with it, but as soon as I get swept away, and then the realization is, oh, honey, come on back. So I try or I don't try. My practice is then to notice it and then go immediately back into my breathing. And oftentimes that calms me down again. But I'm wondering if that process is too simplified or too simple. It's like being aware there's a bunch of shit going on out there or in here, noticing, okay, I get it. I think I understand what the theme of it is about. And then I go back into my breathing to take me down. But I just wonder if I'm missing something. I'm just missing something. So there
So
you go.
So I have a question. So when you're doing this breathing, you're controlling the breath in some way? Like you're taking control of it with the mind?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably, yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that now. Didn't see it before, but I see it now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So maybe yeah, see what it's like to just allow the breath to be completely natural, just explore that, just letting it be as it is. Um, you know, so you know, so that controlling or whatever it is, there it sounds like there's some sort of release happening when you do that. But what happens if you just let it all be as it is, without trying to do anything with it, just see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So if I'm getting this right, what you're suggesting is that, okay, just breathing naturally. When I get swept away by whatever, and noticing that, just continue the natural breathing rather than go, okay, here it
Yeah.
comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just notice the mind. Sometimes the mind, in order to, like it feels maybe safe to, kind of control the breath. But what happens when you let go of that control? Just let the body be breathed on its own. Let that controller and that little self kind of just relax. Relax and just be present with what's happening.
Okay, helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, Dan, can you hear me?
I can.
Um, so I live in a noisy apartment complex and I'm very distractible, very sensitive to noises. So I'm wondering, is it advisable to listen to, you know, calm ambient music or white noise when I'm meditating? Or should I just try to be equanimous with the sounds in my environment?
Hmm. So, do you find that the sounds are they overwhelming, or is it something that you could kind of be equanimous with?
Uh, there, there's noisy leaf blowers
Hmm.
outside,
Hmm.
and really high pitched noises,
Hmm.
to me are overwhelming,
Hmm.
to my senses. So
Yeah,
I'm just kind of wondering,
I would say,
yeah, should I?
so what's coming up for me, I
Okay.
remember I met a monk one time when I was in Las Vegas, and And I asked him, you know, what are you doing in Las Vegas? And he said, you know, anybody can be a monk at the top of a mountain. It's, you know, easy when it's really beautiful and pristine, but you know, try being a monk in Las Vegas. This is where, you know, the practice gets really tough. You know, it's like you know, going running with weights on. You know, it's like it makes it more difficult. So I would say your environment makes it more challenging. You know, more difficult. Um, Deeper equanimity would be needed for that. So I guess, yeah, if it's just how you navigate that. You know, if it is like a real stress on the nervous system, you're going into overwhelm, then yeah, just do whatever you know, will alleviate that. You know, but also I would explore it a little bit. You know, and see if, you know, the mind, when those sounds are coming. You know, I've lived in a basement apartment in Toronto at one time, and they had a huge dog that would tap dance above me when I was trying to do my meditation, and I was the same. I would put on music and try and tune it out, but also I found, you know, just hearing, dropping the concept of what that thing is, you know, so not thinking of it as an annoying dog, but just feeling the actual sensations, you know, as they come through, and it's something to explore as well. So I'd say, you know, as with everything, there's kind of a middle way. You know, we don't want to, you know, we don't want to overwhelm our system, but we you know, don't want to make it too easy on ourselves as well. Try and yeah, work out our meditation equanimity muscles. Yeah. Thank you.
Razzie.
Hi, Dan, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for doing this for all of us. I have sort of a two-part question. One is more about psychological habit patterns and how they kind of become so distracting. And one is more about my meditation that's been occurring since this retreat. So I did the retreat last time, the first time it was offered, and it was beautiful. Like first time after a very long time that seeking energy went away. It was just like a deep beingness, and not the grasping went away after a very long time. And I thought, I'm done. I got it. I'm done. And my wife also did the retreat with me. And afterwards, we tried to do the diet together, but it didn't work at all. She felt my energy intense that I would literally burn her when I was seeing with my eyes. And she's very new to this path and practice, you know, this formal one, but she has her own path. And it opened up not a can of worms, but it got very distracting for me. I tried to get her to do what I think she should do, and it led to a lot of things that eventually got me away from what I discovered, you know, the deepening of my path. And I was so much into getting her to do something. And then when you mentioned your stuff with you being in the industry and money and all that, I have this other habit pattern that I need to do work that's meaningful, that, you know, I can pay my bills and do all that. And my thought just keeps thinking about what should I do for work? What should I do for work? Now I'm on this spiritual path, and I only want to do work that's meaningful and good for people. And I think I asked you in an email, what should I do? And you said it will figure itself out. And it's been 5 months and I haven't actively done any work. And my finances dwindle down, and I'm still thinking what I should be doing, as if there's an ideal, psychologically seems like there's an ideal thing I should be doing. That takes a lot of my energy on what I should be doing. And then this other part was my wife and my parents. Like I'm trying to make them all work after I got married, and there's like we should all get along, or we all should do this. And the reason I'm bringing up, without going too much into the story part, is that these patterns just keep repeating and my energy just keeps getting sucked into it. And there's a belief that until I can resolve these things, I cannot have peace.
Mm-hmm.
And even I reached out to you, and there's also a belief like there's a guru or a teacher, someone like you, that's going to tell me what I should do, and I need a lot of help. When I do get when I do get help, I don't listen to them, and the pattern keeps looking to like keeps trying to solve a problem. Sorry to keep going on, but just being vulnerable and what's happening in my life.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question for you. So what is the most exciting thing like that your energy could go to in your life right now?
You mean work-wise or?
Yeah, or yeah, just in terms of, if something that you could do, to that would feel in alignment, that would feel alive for you. Something, that would, not feel like you're just doing it out of fear of money, but something that something that feels alive. It's like the Joseph Campbell follow your bliss kind of thing. What would that be for
Yeah,
you? Hmm.
the thing that I enjoy, and I've been doing it for years, is to work with people. Not exactly what you do, but I'm able to work with people and help them connect to their own beingness also. I know it sounds very strange, but I have my own problems, but somehow I really enjoy people who are stressed out, especially stressed out and having anxiety, to really help them slow their mind down and to really connect with this present moment somehow. I'm not sure how it happens, but it happens spontaneously. And I would love to do that all day, every day. Like I wouldn't stop doing that. I enjoy that.
Wow, that's awesome. Like that's a very clear answer. So the question is, why aren't you doing that?
Because I kept thinking, how am I going to make money with this? How am I going to make money with this?
Hmm.
Versus just start doing it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and this, there, like I've been exactly there. Like I transitioned from different things in my life where, I was in just living, making money, paying the rent, and it isn't just an easy, straightforward answer. Like there's many little dimensions that we sometimes have to transition to come into the thing that is most in alignment, and what's in alignment can change as well. But for me, to disentangle myself from my business world and all of that took a couple years, of selling the business, and even after I sold the business, it's interesting. There was that part of my mind that had been, a whole section of my brain was wired for doing that thing, so it's like that part of the mind was searching for the next thing, searching, and it had to actually go through this little death process of, I actually recreated a new music business for spiritual music, but it was the same pattern. I just repurposed the pattern, but luckily I caught it, and so there's a lot of little things that we can catch, and there's like this whole matrix. There's a practical reality of playing the game in order to depends what you want, right? Like if you really ask yourself, what do I want to experience in this game, and then what am I willing to pay, for that?
Hmm.
Hmm.
What do I really want in this game? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. What do I want in this experience, and like when it comes to relationships and family, it sounds like there's this wanting for everything to be cohesive, and so you know Yeah, it's yeah. I'm not sure. You know, if I have anything really to offer in terms of you know, advice or anything. But you know, the teacher that I worked with, those were the two questions when I was in this sort of transition point. He would say, you know, what do you want? Like, get clear about what you want, and then, you know, what are you really willing to pay to, you know, and wherever you put your attention, you know, that's where the energy flows.
Wow, those are beautiful questions. I think I need to sit with that. There's nothing that's immediate, but I think in my case, it seems like I have a very strong need for approval from my family and people around me. So what I was wondering is, do I need to maybe work with a therapist or something to try to figure that out, or I just work on this meditation path as I'm working with you, or just, you know, I have enough, like I think I have enough to just sit to do with this. My wife suggested perhaps I need to, there's something that my need for approval that's really just sucking away my energy. But as you shared with some other people, to really watch who is it that needs approval, you know, like to do inquiry and all these
Yeah,
things. Who is it that needs to make money? Like to work on it from that point of view,
yeah.
or I should explore that with somebody else, you know, with TRE or trauma release or something. I wasn't really sure what avenue to take, or maybe take more than one.
Yeah, there's always two approaches. So you can, you know, work within the character, you know, um, improving the character, or you know, there's different developmental lines we can work on within the character, you know, and then we can wake up from identification with the character entirely,
Yeah,
you know. So in
totally.
one swoop, it's like, you know, if you just don't believe the thoughts in that character's mind, you're free. You know, the moment you believe the thought, then it's, you know, a single thought can take you on, you know, a long journey. Like I'm, you know, I've had, you know, thinking back to my early days, you know, I had a thought at one point, a crazy thought. I thought I want to be a lawyer, you know. That thought
Me too.
took me on a journey, you know, and then, you know, I stopped believing that thought. But, you know, people can go, a single thought can become a lifetime. So, you know, examining, you know, really,
So
and
what helped you pop that? Because I've had exactly what you're saying. To just see
yeah.
that, like how helped you pop that, like
So, well, back then it was suffering, great suffering. So, you know, and that's another thing that my teacher would say, you know, there's the path of suffering and the path of wisdom. So we can, you know, believe those thoughts, get taken by them, go on that journey, you know, and realize it's not the path, you know, or we can recognize, you know, where that thought comes from. You know, if maybe we inherited that thought from, you know, our past, or from our, you know, beliefs of society or teachers or wherever it came from, right? So if we stop believing the thoughts, then we don't have to go through as much suffering.
beautiful. No, thank you. I think that's the path. I mean, that's why I'm on this path, because I know there's nothing wrong out there. You know, trying to fix my mom and my family members to change the behavior seems like a losing battle, and there's no need to that. I need
Yeah,
to, okay. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I got it.
yeah, yeah. It's much easier, or I wouldn't say easier, but it's simple. It's very simple, but the actual implementation of it in life is, you know, life will test it over and over. Yeah.
Got it, got it. Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the question about meditation right now, sorry if I could. The attention goes from I can tap into just the beingness of what is aware. Um, Mind goes quiet. I want to know if I'm on the right track. If you could just see if I could stay with this or not.
Mhm.
So far it's been restless for me, but having done this before, I can access Like what is aware? So when I ask what is aware, or who am I, then the mind just sort of gets blank, and there's a sense of beingness, lack of a better word,
Mm-hmm.
and the thoughts go away, and then no thoughts are coming, but there is a sense of presence. There is a sense of presence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then there's no problem, no nothing, not good or bad. It's just nothing. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't last for very long. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And then ping, like, like a squirrel, the mind goes off here and there. And I think, oh, something's wrong. I'm not doing this right. And then just go off, and I'm lost for a while.
Yeah,
Before I
yeah,
get back in, and sometimes I lay down and I'm thinking, oh, should I do the breath? Or I'm not able to hold it for very long.
yeah. So what you're describing is exactly it. So that beingness, that you said there's like a peace in there. There's no problem when that
Nothing.
beingness is there, and then the mind just comes back in, and
Yes.
that's so that's it. So when those thoughts come back in, as soon as you sort of identify with those thoughts or believe the thoughts, then that's an um, you know that's an interruption, you could say, or there's re-identification with that mind, right? So the trick now is to just stay in the being, just recognize that being is ever present. The mind doesn't have to look for that being; it's always there. The mind
Yes.
it's always dissatisfied, always interjecting. There's no end to what that mind is going to produce. So once we recognize that, that's the main delusion of the mind, is that it can achieve some peace for us, or something that is fulfilling. And when we drop all of that and just stay with being directly, and know that the mind doesn't have to look for it. It's ever present. Then it just becomes a process of getting the mind on board, like getting the mind to understand its own limitation in this process, and that the mind can learn that. The mind can learn that it's futile. All of its actions are futile. That you, the true you, is always right here, and it can give up seeking. You can come to the end of seeking, but sometimes I've used the analogy, it's like Ramana Maharshi said, it's like pulling the plug on a fan, and it takes time for that fan to wind down. So
When you say have it learned, when you say have it learned, is that a doing, or is that just doing more of what you're saying? Have it learned. What does that mean?
it can, like, the mind can come to know that it doesn't have to search and seek anymore.
Oh, I
It,
see.
it can come to that knowing, that it's futile, and so just notice when you're plugging in that fan again, when that seeking is coming
But
back on.
it seems like I'm not plugging it in. It just plugs back itself so quickly. It
Yeah,
doesn't seem like I'm plugging it. It just seems like, oh shit, here it goes again.
yeah. So when those thoughts come up, just notice if there's any interest in those thoughts.
There's a habit, and then I get
Yeah,
some emotional familiarity with it, so I get sucked back in it. Okay,
yeah,
just notice that. You're saying
yeah,
there's,
yeah. So that's what I mean by plugging the fan back in.
I see.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It's just there's just a connection being made to the sense
Yes,
of I and those thoughts.
there
Yeah,
is. I
yeah,
didn't catch it. You're right. Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have time for one last one. Kelly.
Thank you.
Hi,
Appreciate.
Kelly.
Uh, Hi, thank you. I appreciate the time to hear my question. So, Dan, when you were speaking about the childlike nature, this has come up for me before, and so I thought this is a good opportunity. It's somewhere I often get stuck with this. I've had moments in Zen, call it a Kensho, or feeling like that true nature it's there, is present right within me, and then it comes in and out. It hasn't fully integrated.
Yeah.
And so I guess if there, and this might be something you continue to talk about over the retreat, but it's more of an integration, I guess, between meditation states. What are we doing with it, and how do we bring it into our life? Because sometimes when I hear that analogy of, oh, it's being in this like childlike intuitive, I have two children, and when they were young, they were not necessarily right, like kind, mindful beings all the time. They had tantrums, and they could
Yeah,
be very,
that's
right, like
true.
selfish and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I guess,
We sometimes idealize the kids, and yeah, I think there is a certain spontaneity in that comes through at times, but in the world as it is, I think we mess them up pretty quickly. So yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I guess the question is like how to be, I don't know, integrate that nature that I can be in for certain periods of time if I'm in a kind of meditative state, but then life, when it hits, it's so easy to fall back into the old patterns and
Mhm.
do you have any advice on how to catch ourselves, or how to be aware even that it's happening? Because sometimes I think I'm acting from the true self place, and then in retrospect it's like, oh wait, no, my ego was like a little bit influencing that situation too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's the ego. It's incredible how tricky it is, and I think, for me, the self-inquiry practice is an amazing transition between, these states that we experience on the cushion and life. To me, like, if we can, you start to explore, what is authentic, when in the dyads, like, speaking to others, like, can I present myself as I truly am, or and start to see where the hooks are for that conditioned self. And to me, it's the perfect place to explore that. It's not I can't just give an answer how to integrate. It's an ongoing process, but for me, the dyads are an incredible tool, and then when we go back to life, we can start to apply the same way of interacting with everyone we meet. We can start to see the operation of the character, and sometimes that transition, it isn't comfortable. Sometimes I've had times where I go back into life, and the Dan character, it's like everything coming out of its mouth seems inauthentic and false, and that's okay. That's part of letting go of what needs to be let go of, but to me, that tool is an amazing sort of transition tool. And we'll be talking more about integration. I have a whole talk on it at the end as well. So we'll get
okay,
into it
wonderful,
more.
thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, wonderful connecting with everyone here, and I'll let you go for your lunch. Once again, an opportunity to stay in continuous practice, continuous presence. I encourage you to take this opportunity to really create these conditions of no escape, just continuously just being, nothing to do, but just recognizing the being that is ever present.